What's up, y'all? My name is Andrew Mulkey, and I am a certified personal trainer. And I'm also about to receive my bachelor's degree in exercise and sports science at the University of Georgia. Today, I'm going to be looking at a video on YouTube about weight loss that's called Losing Weight is Easy Actually, from the channel Easy Actually, um, where he lays out a lot of information to teach people how to do a lot of different things. But for this one, we're going to be breaking down everything that he's talking about for someone that wants to lose weight. So we're going to talk about the good parts, the bad parts, and give you a few key takeaways. So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and hop right into it.
People usually think losing weight is about half diet and half exercise, but both of these combined are only about 25% of it. Another 25% is good quality sleep, and the other 500% is actually doing what you said you would. Luckily, if you start a diet right now,
Obviously, the numbers that he's giving are very foolish here. He's exaggerating clearly when he's putting these numbers. But he's making a really good point here. A lot of people really get nitpicky with trying to find the perfect diet, the perfect exercise routine, all sorts of perfect things to try. And they think that the reason that they're not getting the results that they want is because they're not doing the right diet or the right exercise routine. And of course, there is an optimal exercise routine you can do, and there's better diets than others. But for the most part, the reason that people aren't getting the results that they want is because they're not being consistent. Consistency is the most important factor if you're wanting to lose weight, gain muscle, or really achieve anything. And I'm pretty confident that you could do a pretty crappy diet and a pretty crappy routine, but if you do it consistently for a long time, you are going to get results. So yeah, he's really making a good point here about the importance of sticking to what you said you're going to do. So I would prioritize that as the number one thing, is to obviously look for good exercise routines to do and good diets, but for the most part, picking something and sticking to it for a long time. So yeah, I like how this is going so far.
there is a way, an easy way, to make it almost impossible to fail. Step 1 is to get inspired. There's always a spark that makes you decide you want to change, and it's usually seeing someone else who's way more fit than you, or seeing yourself in a picture. Either way, inspiration is strong, but only ever lasts for a day, and then it's gone. So what you need next is a realistic.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think that anyone has ever gotten started doing anything without that first spark of motivation. But I like what he's saying here is that motivation isn't going to drive you all the way through. That little spark that you get where you want to get achieve something, that goes away very quickly, because then you realize how hard it is to achieve what you're wanting to achieve. And so it seems like he's about to lay out some things that are helpful to be able to stick to something when that motivation goes away, which is really important. And I really like that.
Goal that you can measure, as well as the time you need to achieve it by. For example, I'm going to lose 5 pounds by July 1st, and another 5 pounds by August 1st is something you can measure, and it even has a checkpoint to keep you motivated. Then the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what he's saying here about setting very specific and measurable goals that are also reasonable. That's a big thing that personal trainers specifically try to do, is to make sure that the goals that clients are making and that we're making with them are smart goals. And so saying I want to lose a lot of weight, that's great, but it's not very specific, and so you don't know what counts as achieving that goal. And so the things that I liked about that is that he created a specific measurement, like losing 5 pounds. He created a specific timeline of losing that weight by this date. Um, the one critique that I would have for that is that when you set an extrinsic goal like that, which is like the end goal, let's say that someone were trying to lose weight and they lost 4 pounds by July 1st, and another 4 pounds by August 1st, which is really awesome that that person is losing weight. But because their goal was set to 10 pounds, they're going to be disappointed. And so, to my point earlier about the importance of consistency, I think setting your goal, part of your goal, as the things that you're actually going to do to get there, to create those habits, you're going to be able to be encouraged because you're achieving your goal whenever you're adhering to your workout routine and your diet. And then the results will also come with it. So that's the one critique I have for those goals, but great stuff about being really specific with the goals that you're setting.
You need is a detailed and realistic plan that will get you to your goal. The plan might just be to replace your daily breakfast of milk, sugary granola, and a peanut butter jelly sandwich with instead a 1 mile jog, followed by a bowl of 15 big strawberries and 3 boiled eggs. Believe it or not, this one change is more than enough for you to lose multiple pounds of fat in just a few weeks. But having the plan is not enough. You need to set everything up so that you can easily follow the plan. You have to buy the strawberries and boil the eggs the night before and get your running clothes ready so that when you wake up, the easiest thing to do is to just stick to the plan.
Yeah, that's a really good point that he's making there. One of the most helpful things that you can do when you're trying to accomplish something is to make it as easy as possible to adhere to it. So I see people all the time who want to get up at 5:30 to work out every day, and do all of these crazy workouts that are like super mentally taxing, and they try to do all these really difficult things, which is great. I'm sure that that is really mentally challenging and makes you feel good, like feel like you're tough. But that's going to be really difficult to adhere to, especially when you're trying to create a habit. So if you're trying to create a habit that isn't necessarily super fun or easy, you've got to do everything you can to make it as easy as possible. So if it's most convenient for you to work out at night or work out in the afternoon or work out in the morning, do it. Do whatever is most convenient for you that helps you adhere to your plan. So I really like that.
So you've probably heard that to lose fat over time, you have to eat less calories than you burn. That means if your body burns 2,000 calories a day, then eating 1,700 calories a day will make you lose fat. That's because the body will use energy from fat and a teeny tiny bit of muscle to help cover the 300 calorie deficit. And if you drop your calories even lower to 1,500 or even 1,200 a day, you'll lose fat more quickly, but at the expense of it being way more difficult for you to maintain. The traditional
Yeah, there's lots of different deficits that you can use when you're trying to lose weight. And he's right that the sharper your deficit is, the more weight that you're going to lose over a shorter period of time. But it's going to be a lot more difficult because your body is going to be very rarely tapping into energy from food, and it's going to have to tap into energy from your body. And so that will be really mentally difficult. So I would recommend if you're looking to get started with losing weight, and you want it to happen in the long term, again, with being able to adhere to something, you're going to want to do a pretty small deficit so that it doesn't feel like you're always drained and exhausted, and it'll be something more easier to maintain in the long run.
optimal way to figure out how many calories you should be eating is to use an online calorie calculator, activity level sedentary, YLI, and then eat around this number every day as a starting point to lose weight. But it's worth noting that this number can be way off since everyone has a different metabolism, and it can especially be.
Yeah, he's making a good point here that there are things that can affect your metabolism and cause you to burn more calories than this calorie calculator might say, or burn less calories than this calorie calculator might say. But I will say, for the majority of people, if you adhere to the calories that is relative to your height, weight, and activity level, it's gonna be pretty accurate for most people. I hear all the time people saying, "Oh, I have a fast metabolism," or "Oh, I have a slow metabolism." But when you really track what they're eating day to day, you'll see that it's pretty close to what this calculator would come to. So I think most people use that as an excuse, but he's definitely right that there are those exceptions.
So the best way to know for sure is to start with this number and then see how your weight changes over the next few weeks. If you find that each week your weight is not changing, then you need to lower your daily calories by another 200 to 300. And if you ever reach a point where you haven't lost any weight for at least a week, you'll either need to reduce your calories again, or you could also just add in some more exercise. Now, for
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Really, the biggest thing is to adhere to the plan and to see what happens. There are those slight differences from people, and so if you don't have a good response to eating 2,200 calories a day, then bump it down by 100 or 200 or 300. See what happens, and just keep messing with it and see where you're getting results. And he's exactly right with what he's saying about how if you want to be in a caloric deficit, the two easiest ways to do that are decreasing your caloric intake and increasing your caloric expenditure. So that could be increasing your daily steps, doing resistance training, um, playing sports, just doing things to increase your activity level throughout the day.
some people, this method works perfectly because in theory, you can't go wrong with it. The only problem is, you have to count exactly how many calories you eat per day, using nutrition labels, calorie counting apps, mental math, and also food scales, which measure exactly how much of each food you're eating in grams. If you're American, you might not be familiar with the metric system, but you don't have to worry since the McDonald's menu already has calorie counts. Anyway, you can also just get away with roughly estimating your calories, but this only really works if you play it safe and round everything up like crazy. If you think it's 300 calories, it's probably 500. If you think it's 800 calories, it's probably 1,000. And if you think it's too small to count, it's probably at least 50. So before we get into the
Yeah, that's a good point. I think if you really want to get the results that you're looking for, and you want to do whatever it takes to get there, definitely do all those things that he said. Track your calories, everything you eat, track it. You can use MyFitnessPal, or there's tons of other apps out there. A food scale is nice. You technically don't have to. Like if you had an apple, you could just find the that average calories for an apple of that size and things like that. But for the most part, tracking calories is going to be very helpful. But if not, definitely do what he said about kind of overestimating, because people really tend to underestimate um, what they eat. And when people self log their own eating, a lot of times they'll be surprised by how many calories it actually is.
at all, we need to talk about macronutrients. A lot of people want to know how much protein, carbs, and fat they should eat per day. And to be honest, for most weight loss purposes, all you need to look at is calories and protein. You need a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of fats, and then you can fill in the rest of your calories with anything. Just make sure for fats not to overeat stuff like oil, sauces, salad dressings, butter, nuts, and cheese. Because even though these are healthy in moderate amounts, fats have 9 calories per gram, which means one pack of trail mix has about 3 times the calories of a dying neutron star. Also,
Yeah, I really like what he's saying here. A lot of people really think that they have to track their macros specifically, and for most cases, that's not true. If really you could, if you just had to track one thing, calories is the most important. But especially for retaining muscle and even gaining muscle, tracking your protein is going to be really important as well. The biggest reason that you may want to stay away from fats is just because of how calorically dense they are, which means it's not very much food and it's a lot of calories. So um, you can eat foods with fat in it for sure. Like peanut butter has a lot of fat in it, um, but there's no problem with eating peanut butter. You just have to be a little bit more wary about eating those just because of how many calories they are, not because fat kills you or something.
and that brings us to the method of how to lose fat without counting calories. The number one trick is to just start slowly eating more minimally processed foods, avoiding junk, chips, sugary desserts, stuff with lots of refined carbs, and instead swapping that out for fruits, vegetables, lean dairy, lean protein, healthy fats, and whole grains.
Yeah, this is really good for a lot of reasons. For one, just that whole foods are just a lot better for you. You'll probably feel a lot better, and there will be a lot of better health outcomes in your life. But also, just because of how much less calorically dense whole foods are, if you tried to eat your caloric maintenance level of salad, you would probably have a pretty hard time. Like, that's just so much food. And that's because fruits and vegetables and lean meats just have a lot less calories for their volume compared to other foods. The more whole foods that you eat, the easier it's going to be to lose weight, just because it's going to be really easy to stay in that caloric level you're looking for.
But in case times get hard, here are some more tips. Number 1. Start drinking lots of water. Water is very filling, and half of the time when you're hungry, a quick drink of water will get rid of the feeling. Just keep a big water bottle next to you, and you'll never forget. This will also
Yeah, this is really good. So, I mean, I would say the large majority of adults are chronically dehydrated throughout their whole life, mostly because the feeling of thirst is a later symptom of dehydration. You only get thirsty after you're already dehydrated. So carrying around a water bottle is huge for me. Like when I'm going to class or when I'm doing things throughout my day, I drink so much more water when the water is right there in front of me because I keep remembering about it. And anytime I have the slight urge to drink water, it's right there in front of me, as opposed to having to go somewhere and find water. So that's a really good piece of advice.
prevent you from craving high calorie drinks like soda, juice, bubble tea, and milkshakes.
Yes. Eliminating high calorie drinks or drinks with calories in them in general is a huge, huge point to be in a calorie deficit. The biggest reason why is because a drink with a lot of calories in it is not going to provide you really any nutrients. You're not going to feel full. Basically, you're just adding on a bunch of empty calories. So, eliminating soft drinks, soda, high calorie coffees, milkshakes, things like that will work wonders for you.
Number 2. If you keep saying, today doesn't count, the real diet starts tomorrow, then it'll never start. Number 3. Avoid liquid calories. It's way easier to drink lots of calories in the form of sugary drinks than it is to eat them. Number 4. Low-fat shredded cheese, keto bread, cauliflower rice, egg whites, and even peanut butter powder are low-calorie swaps you can make. Number 5.
Yes, low calorie swaps are honestly a really good thing for you to do, especially if there's certain foods that you enjoy. Finding those things that taste very similar or just have a very similar makeup, but are just made with much lower calorie ingredients is a really good idea. Egg whites, cauliflower rice, all those things that he said are really good for that.
Many people find it easy to be in a calorie deficit when doing intermittent fasting. It involves only giving yourself a 4 to 8 hour window to eat, and then not eating the rest of the day. It might sound hard, but just know that when you don't eat, you won't just be constantly hungry. Hunger comes and goes in waves. So if you just wait a little bit, the hunger goes away. Number
Yeah, intermittent fasting is a really popular method that people use to lose weight, and there's really nothing special about it specifically. There's not any specific mechanism that makes it more effective for weight loss as opposed to another thing. But it makes it a lot easier to be in a caloric deficit when you only have a 6 to 8 hour window to eat food during the whole day. So yeah, you can feel free to give intermittent fasting a try, but there's no special or magic to it that's going to make it where you magically lose weight. If you think that it's easier for you to be in a caloric deficit when you're eating meals consistently throughout the day, then definitely.
Now on to exercise. It burns some calories, it improves your health, and once you experience what it really takes to burn 200 calories, you're probably less likely to pop open a 200 calorie bag of chips. So here are some tips. Number 1, lift weights. This will not only increase your metabolism, but it will burn calories, and it helps you build muscle. You can use this website to get ideas for exercises.
Absolutely. I think this is one of the biggest pieces that's missing in the culture of weight loss. I think that weight training is a essential part for weight loss because it will increase your metabolism, mostly because increasing the amount of muscle mass on your body increases the caloric requirement to maintain your body. And yeah, it's going to make it a lot easier to lose weight. You're going to look better, and yeah, that point that you look better with even higher body fat. The body fat that I'm sitting at right now is relatively high. But if I didn't have muscle on my body, I'd look pretty bad right now. But muscle helps to really fill out your frame and give you good proportions. and it just makes things a lot better. And muscle is just highly associated with better quality of life and better health outcomes. So,
Number 2, walk more. Getting at least 10,000 steps a day is basically a cheat code for burning extra calories and losing fat. Number 3, do more.
yes, I'd say that secondary to weight training, which is going to increase your caloric needs total, increasing your daily steps would be second, because the biggest proportion of calories burned in a day is your that metabolic rate, that basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories you burn just by sitting still. But the second largest one is the non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is going to be the calories that you're burning when you're not working out. And so getting 10,000 steps in a day is going to burn way more calories than doing an hour-long workout will. I promise. It is mind-blowing how many calories are burned by walking 10,000 steps in a day. It is really crazy.
4, be less sedentary. Not many people talk about this because it's hard to explain, but getting up and moving around and just doing stuff throughout the day burns way more calories than you would think. This includes activities that you don't normally think of as exercise, like taking the stairs, cleaning your house, pressure washing your driveway, cooking, fidgeting, standing, walking around, carrying groceries, and touching grass. Basically anything except sitting or rotting in bed.
Yes, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, but just being less sedentary is a huge factor. If you're walking around and standing and moving for the 14 hours to 16 hours that you're awake in a day, that's going to do so much more than a crazy intense workout that you do for an hour. And when you look at our population, there's a super strong association with the increasing overweight and obesity of our culture, and also the increasing sedentary lifestyle of our culture. Getting up and moving is going to work wonders for you. So definitely, absolutely right.
Lastly, a fat loss tip that everyone thinks doesn't apply to them is to get good quality sleep. Sleep regulates your hormones, and when it comes to fat loss, these hormones pretty much determine everything. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't have to worry about that. I already get good sleep. Anyway, please donate a subscribe to fund the next video.
Yeah, that advice that they gave about sleep is super important, both especially for increasing muscle, but really for fat loss in general, and just for your overall quality of life. Sleep is really important. So I definitely emphasize that he's saying. But yeah, overall, this video was super solid, really good advice here. I definitely agree with just about everything that he said. But yeah, I'd say the biggest takeaways: come up with a plan, stick to it, do whatever it takes to make it easy to stick to it, eat whole foods as opposed to processed foods, stay in a caloric deficit, increase your activity level. And if you do that over a long period of time, you're going to see incredible results. This is a really solid video with a lot of great advice that's easy to understand, not crazy science terms or anything like that. Hope that you enjoyed. If you want to see more videos on my page, check out the recommended video that pops up. Don't forget to subscribe, and let me know in the comments if there is anything that you're wanting me to react to next. Thanks so much, and I'll see you all in the next one.